I'm Scott Buchanan, the chair of the board for the United States Air and Trade Show Board. We're wrapping up the air show for 2021. We're ecstatic that everybody was able to make it out. We had some iffy weather, and coming out of a pandemic, we weren't real sure what to expect, especially going from our planned drive-in show, the state opening back up, and our ability to do a regular show. So we think we had around 40,000 people approximately over 2 days, which is pretty good for the weather that we had forecasted and coming out of pandemic. But we were very happy with being able to fly both days and to be able to put the show on that we've put on for the last 47, 48 years now. We missed one, so we're very, very, very happy with the results, and we're looking forward to next year already. We're already in the planning stages. So
usually the latter 2 weeks of July are a bit drier than the first 2 weeks.
Yes.
No one has a crystal ball, but is there a feeling that maybe the weather might cooperate better next year, perhaps?
Yes, we're going to be in July 30, 31, so usually that part of July is a little drier. This wasn't bad. Even if it rained quite a bit, the ground was dry enough for us this year that it shouldn't cause any issues. That's why we moved from June back to July. June was so wet, and if we get those soaking rains, we can't park cars out here, and it just makes a mess out of everything. So we'll probably try to stick with July going forward.
But you'll be 3 weeks later next year?
Yes, sir. And that's based on the jet team schedules. So they'll kind of dictate what dates we get based on their schedules and fitting us in.
Do you have one of the two jet teams that people think of scheduled for next year? Talk about that.
The Blue Angels will be here July 30, 31 next year. And then we're already working on some of the other acts, and in a couple months we'll start putting in for military presence and all of that.
So talk about the input you got this year. I mean, because you were off for a year, and and it kind of goes out of people's consciousness even.
Absolutely.
So talk about the input you got about this show.
I didn't hear anything negative, even with the rain. Folks seemed to be having a good time. Walked around the grounds a lot. We stayed pretty busy moving around, thanking everybody for being there, and everybody seemed to be having a really good time. So I think it was a hit. I think everybody's looking for something to do. So I attend the Indy 500 every year, and I can tell you, folks were ready to get out. So I anticipated that here as well.
Did the Thunderbirds do their low show both days?
Yes,
think
sir.
they did.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the ceiling was pretty low. That's why the Golden Knights didn't jump. We had a pretty low ceiling, but there at the end of the day, it started to open up for us. So I think that whoever on the weather teams pulled that off, tell them thanks.
At least both days, your audience got your headline show, which is
right. Absolutely.
Deal, right?
Yeah, we didn't miss any flying other than the Golden Knights not getting to jump. So that's a good day.
And that basically helps with your return crowd, then, right?
Absolutely, and we'll have a lot more announcement in the next few months as to what that looks like leading up to next year's show. But the planning's already in progress.
Not every air show gets those top-tier military acts.
No, we're very, very fortunate to have that, and a lot of that's Don Kenlin and the team together with Terry and his team that pulled the show off in putting such a good show on. And there's a lot of hospitality that happens here. As soon as those guys hit the ground, there's a lot of hospitality for them, so they like coming here. It's a good release for them as well.
Just one of the toughest air shows to plan due to the fact it was canceled. Then you originally had a drive-in, and then you had a flip of a switch. Had to, hey, let's get vendors.
Yeah, that's really Terry Grevious and his team. He's been doing that over 40 years, and it was his idea to move to a drive-in show. He planned all of that, and with the flip of a switch in late May, he was able to flip that back over and do a regular show. So that's a compliment to his team that we're very fortunate to be aligned with. So,
how did your upscale ticketing go with chalets and pavilions?
It was very good. And really, what I'd really like to say is it really doesn't happen. This whole thing doesn't happen without the volunteers, the sponsors, the City of Dayton, the City of Vandalia, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. There's a huge coordination that happens to make this happen with everybody aligning. The airport letting us take, Gil and letting us take the half of his airport over and run an air show on it with all the risks that go along with that. So it's really everybody coming together. So to flip from one show to the other and then be able to pull it off and push the advertising and let folks know what we're doing takes a lot of coordination. So I really want to thank all of those folks for their efforts to make that happen. And that's where the tickets come from, the drive for that comes from, is all that coordination and then us being able to pull that off.
What about competition to land, and it kind of ties in what Tom asked you, but competition to land performers. there seems to be more air shows across the country than ever before.
Well, we do a little show. We go to the Conference of Air Shows out in Vegas every year, and if you have a Dayton badge on, you have to flip it over sometimes because they all want to come here. So we don't really have too hard a time getting folks that want to come perform here, given the show that we're able to put on. And we're one of the only shows that has the major infrastructure that we have here as well. The chalets. Some shows have chalets, but not at the level that we do, and the hospitality and just the spread that we're able to put on 120 acres on the airport.
As you look forward now, I mean, you kind of got your, it's like you're doing the first one all over again when you take a year off like that. It's like, okay, we got to get everybody, you know, not only your volunteers and workers, but, you know, even people get it back in the habit. So now that you got your feet wet again,
Right.
you feel good going forward in terms of maybe even boosting those numbers with better possible weather?
Absolutely. If we have better weather, which I anticipate hopefully next year, those numbers will go back up. And we're also coming out of the pandemic, so there's, you know, it's going to be a little slow. That's pretty normal. So.
Traditionally, you were in the latter half of July. It seemed early to mid-90s, the latter half of July was kind of your period.
Yes, yes, sir. And then we tried to do that in June a few years, about 5 years, to cool it off, see if we could cool it off a little bit. But July is going to be better for us, just for the infrastructure and what we're working with.
I mean, it's better to try and deal with the heat, I guess, than rain, cloud, and.
Absolutely, absolutely.